Hey, this is American Lonsdale fan, and as of this date right now, early this morning, the news was out about actor Alec Baldwin. Basically, it was disclosed that he could be actually charged with manslaughter for what happened on the set of his movie Rust. Um, when the incident first happened, my gun buddies and I, we were discussing a lot about the case, and we all had our opinions. I chose not to make a statement on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, mostly because everybody else did anyway. But now that the news is out, I had to kind of put my 2 cents in and take it from a different perspective. Okay, so whatever you think, if you're a gun guy or gal, and you probably have your opinion about Alec Baldwin and his politics and so forth. Okay, let's put that aside. Let's talk about the fact that ultimately what happened is there was a tragic death, and somebody was responsible, or multiple people were responsible. And hopefully we can let the court system figure that out. But there's also something else. This is my opinion, and that is what as we as gun folk can kind of learn from this. Um, Hopefully it drills the point home about our responsibility. Yes, the right to keep and bear arms is in fact a God-given right. The Second Amendment simply recognizes it, puts it to writing, canonizes it, but it doesn't give us the right. God gives us the right. As human beings, we have the right to keep and bear weapons, and that includes firearms. But with every right comes responsibility, and you have to look at it very simple. I think all of us need to remember is that each and every time a firearm comes into our possession, our hands, whatever happens from that point on, it is our responsibility. I make it a rule that anytime a firearm comes into my possession, whether I own it or not, I check and recheck to make sure it's in the condition that I want it to be in. Most of the time, I want it unloaded. But there are often times where I want it loaded, I want it ready. Another thing to consider is the importance of the infamous four basic rules of firearm safety. For the purpose of brevity and for the sake of this video, we'll keep it the four rules, real short. We'll say number one is treat, number two is point, number three is trigger, number four is aware. Most of us know is that when you strictly adhere to all four rules, you will not only basically avoid any negligent or accidental discharges, with very few exceptions. You will certainly avoid tragedies. There are very, very few exceptions to that. This is my opinion. We're all human. We all make mistakes. What I've found is that the four rules, sometimes we're human. We might let one of them slip. We might even let two of them slip. But if we're still trying to adhere to all four rules and two of them slip, but you're still adhering to the other two, you may not avoid accidental or negligent discharges, but you will avoid tragedies, in my opinion. And I think the Alec Baldwin case, particularly based on what he said in the interview he gave, in the mainstream media interview right after the incident, he proved my point. So let's go to a scenario. Let's say that he was on set in this case, and they were trying to do close-up shots with him pointing the gun at the camera. And let's say, for the sake of argument, he broke the first and third rule. So he didn't treat the gun as if it's loaded, and he failed to keep his finger off the trigger until he was ready to fire. But he strictly adhered to rule 2 and 4. Well, according to what he said, then what likely would have happened is he picks up the gun, he takes somebody else's word secondhand that, okay, it's safe. He doesn't check it himself, so he violates that rule, and because he's doing these close-ups, he's got his finger on the trigger, even though he's only supposed to be cocking it and so forth up close. But he adheres to rule 2 and 4. Rule 2, never point at anything you don't want to destroy. Well, you're pointing your finger at the camera and somebody's working the camera, and then your friend is behind that person. If he had stuck to the rule, then he would have said, you know what, let's do this remotely. Why don't I'll point the gun at the camera, you look at it from a remote area, and my buddy, the director, why don't you go over here as well? And based on what he said, let's say the gun goes off, breaks a $10,000 movie camera. Of course, he's pissed, shut down production a little bit, but nobody's dead. Everybody's alive because he adhered to some of those other rules. And by the same token, he switched it around and said, okay, well, I really need to get this shot, so I really want my director and director of photography to look at this, and they're going to be downrange. I'm going to take that extra time to check. Yeah, you told me it was unloaded and safe. I'm going to double check. And as somebody who's on set, you should know what a dummy round looks like and what a real round looks like. And if you have any doubts, okay, doesn't matter. Let's check and double check. Yeah, I know he's an actor. Yes, I know there was supposedly an armorer on set, but doesn't matter. If you're picking up a weapon, you should know how to use it, and you should know how to check it, and you should know how to make it safe and be in the condition that you want it to be in. So yes, do I think we're all human, and so is Alec Baldwin? Sure I do. But it's a good lesson for all of us to remember that our right also bears responsibility, and it's our responsibility to always be safe. We should know that the 4 rules, they weren't designed to be letter of the law. They're more spirit of the law. They're frame of mind, just that constant vigilance to think about. But we know we're all human and we make mistakes. And sometimes 1 or maybe 2 of those 4 rules will slip. We're probably all guilty of it. If we really think about it, we've all made mistakes with firearms. And if you probably say otherwise, you're lying or you don't remember. But the point is that we still have those 4 rules in mind and constantly stay vigilant. When we do make a mistake, the other rules will prevent tragedy. They may not prevent an accidental discharge, but they'll prevent a tragedy. And that's just something to think about, in my opinion. Anyway, that's all I got. Decided to give my 2 bits about the recent news, and my allergies are killing me. It's a bright day and after the rain, so anyway, that's all I got. God bless you and those you love.